serving English teachers in South Korea and beyond. You've reached the Midnight Runner Podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Midnight Runner Podcast. Today is a very special day. Why? Because I have three ladies who are married to Korean men. And that's the title of the show today. I'm married to a Korean man. And I would like to start with introductions. First of all, we have Summer. Summer, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Okay, I'm from the U.S. and married to a Korean guy, obviously. We've been married for less than a year, about 9 months, but we've been together for about 3 years.
Wow, got to know each other pretty good then.
Yeah.
Wasn't like an arranged thing quickly or anything like that then?
No, it was very long. Actually, we lived together for quite a while before we ended up tying the knot. So,
How did that go over with his family? Just curious.
Not well.
Not well. Okay. It's pretty blunt, but that's true. Hey. Okay. Well, tell me more.
Let's see, what else? My husband works for the Korean military, and I do private lessons from home, but I just started teaching in a kindergarten. I've been in Korea for about 4 years, and we have, I'm sorry, I'm pregnant. Yeah, I should mention that.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
How far along are you, if I might ask?
20 weeks.
20
so
weeks?
I'm about halfway.
Uh-huh.
And so we're expecting a little boy, and we have 2 dogs.
Wow. Well, very, very good. Okay. And I forgot, did you mention roughly where you're from? Are you from Seoul?
The U.S. Actually, we're right now we're up north of Seoul, north.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay. Next we have Jill.
Hi, I'm from the U.S. I came to Korea about 10 years ago. I thought I would stay for just a year, but I really enjoyed it, so I stayed for 2.
Wow, that's my line. But I haven't been here 10. I've only been here 8. I'm sorry to interrupt you. Go ahead. Keep going.
No. I met my husband in that second year, so we lived happily ever after, as they say.
Wow.
We're still here, have no plans to leave.
How long?
We have no children. No plans for children.
I see. Okay. Did you date for a long time? We'll get into dating life in a minute, but was it a short dating time or a long time?
Yes, it was very short for me, about 11 months.
Okay. Interesting. All right. Anything else you'd like to share? You're in Seoul, you said?
Actually, we're in Suwon.
Suwon, okay.
My husband's a musician. He runs a music school here, and I work at a university.
Very interesting. My sister-in-law and her husband run a music school as well in the Apgujeong area. Wow. Interesting. Okay. All right. Anything else to add, Jill?
Not immediately, no.
Okay. We'll get into more later. How about Karen?
Hi, I'm Karen. I'm from Canada. I came to Korea in 2007, and
about 3 years ago, 2 years.
Yeah, about 3 years ago. I met my husband in university in Canada in 2006, and we've been married since 2008. So it'll be 2 years this year that we got married.
So you followed him here? Is that what happened?
Well, not really. I came here on my own, but we were dating in Canada, and then we ended up meeting again in Korea.
I see. Interesting. Okay, well, let's get into the subject of dating, by the way. I'd just like you to guys kind of talk in a popcorn way here, so just kind of pop in with something if you have something you'd like to share. What was your dating life like? Did it differ from a Western perspective?
I would say yes. This is Summer. I'd say there was a lot more like melodrama than I would have expected from a Western boyfriend.
Melodrama? How so?
Well, he broke up with me pretty much every week.
Oh my word.
Well, maybe not that bad, but had a lot of family pressure.
From your family or his family? His family, I imagine.
Yeah, totally from his family. They were very upset about it. But so he would break up with me, and then just within a few hours was back on my doorstep, usually in the middle of the night. One time I opened the door and he just kind of not fell in, but he just immediately came in, dropped to the floor into the kind of traditional bow and started crying on my feet about how sorry he was and unworthy and couldn't live without me.
How did this make you feel emotionally after this happened several times?
Just kind of,
Tired.
Tired. Yeah, there's a good word. Very tired. It was very difficult. It was really an emotional roller coaster, which is why it took us so long to get married. Just because I wanted to make sure that we were both really, really, really serious about it. I think both of us knew that we wanted to marry somebody like the other person from the first conversation. Like, as soon as I talked to him, I was like, wow, he's the coolest guy. I would totally love to marry a guy like him.
Wow.
And totally hit it off from there, but then broke up a lot. And actually, he dumped me once for about a month, because his mom wanted it as a birthday gift for her 70th birthday. Which is like a huge, huge deal.
Oh my gosh.
He wasn't working at the time, and apparently he spent several nights sitting outside my apartment building and then followed me to work in the morning.
So you had a stalker.
Yeah. And I think if I dumped him, I would have thought it was totally creepy. Like, creepy, but because I was totally heartbroken too, I just kind of thought it was romantic. But
wow.
Yeah, it's kind of sweet. Creepy.
Yeah, sweet and creepy.
Oh my gosh.
The dating gifts he gave me were kind of strange. Like, for Christmas one time he gave me some multivitamins.
Really?
And for my birthday he gave me anti-wrinkle cream.
Does this seem like a hint in any way? Or?
I know, that's what I thought.
See, I'm out of shape and I've got wrinkles. Well, I wonder what the marriage gifts are like, every year. What do you get for anniversary gifts?
Well, we haven't gone there yet. Actually, neither one of us. Yeah. Neither one of us are really big on gifts. It was just like, he knew that I had wanted those things, but I thought they were too expensive, so I didn't buy them. So it wasn't just totally out of the blue. It was kind of he wanted to do something really nice for me that I wouldn't do for myself. It was just really weird to get anti-wrinkle cream from your boyfriend.
Wow. What brand was it? Do you remember?
I don't. I still have it though, because it's just I'm going through it very slowly.
Well, so. I just buy my wife Latte department store gift certificates. That's what works for us, and she can buy what she wants. Wow. Well, that's interesting. Anything more to add on the dating front there? That's kind of cool.
Not from me.
Okay, Jill, Karen, anything?
Yeah. Well, I was dating my husband in Canada, but he was still Korean, so it still counts. Anyway, I think he was really totally more devoted in catching me. Like how Summer said, it was kind of creepy but nice. I also felt kind of creepy but nice things once in a while. Like the day after I met him, I got text messages like, I miss you, I love you. So I was really creeped out, but for him it was kind of just showing how much he liked me and cared about me. And I remember on our first official date, I wasn't planning on being his girlfriend really, or having anything serious, but he said to me, now I want to propose to you. Will you be my girlfriend?
And this was how soon?
No, but he said, I want to propose to you. Will you be my girlfriend?
And this was, wait a minute, you've got me here. This happened very soon?
Yeah, it was really soon, and I wasn't really expecting anything serious at all, but it was just really cute and a little bit weird.
So did he propose marriage or propose you be my girlfriend? What was
girlfriend? In Korea, they have events, relationship events. So the proposal first is the proposal to be your girlfriend or your boyfriend.
Oh, kind of like 100 days and everything.
Yeah, sort of like that.
Okay, right. So that's like a formal thing that happens. Okay, so foreign guys in the audience probably can learn from this that it's helpful to have events in time.
Yeah, right, events.
I see. Well, that makes sense because I've, in the past, in my dating past, I would date someone and they thought they could have the option of thinking I was a playboy just because I never made that outright proposal of dating, so to speak. Maybe not as directly as a Korean guy would. So
yeah, direct.
Interesting. Okay. Any other anything else to say on that topic?
Well, my husband and I actually ended up dating because of a cultural difference. My refusals toward his advances were too polite. which he took to mean try harder.
Oh, but he did win out in the end, huh?
He did win out in the end.
What? How? I mean, that's interesting because I know a lot of guys these days, especially Western guys, they hear no and they just assume it's no. And they aren't into chasing as much, I imagine, as a Korean guy would be. So what happened? How did he win you over?
Well, he tried so hard. It was just one of those things where with so much effort, how could you continue to say no?
I totally agree. I totally agree with you.
Is that love, though? I mean, seriously. I mean, is that love or is that just, hey, this guy really cares about me? So how does that work?
Well, my friends encouraged me to give him a chance. They said, what's the harm? Go have dinner with the man. If things don't work out, then you just don't see him again.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, well, okay, that's maybe a good attitude to take. And we went out and had a great day together. Wow.
So you saw him again and again and pretty soon?
And again and again.
Oh, very interesting.
The interesting thing, and I think Karen brought this up too, the topic of marriage came up really quickly.
How quick?
Right.
I don't actually remember, but it was early enough to kind of freak me out.
As in like a month or something like that?
Yeah, just, would you be interested in marrying me? It wasn't an actual proposal.
Uh-huh.
It was a feeling out, testing the waters to see if there was any hope, I guess.
Wow. Interesting.
And I said, well, as an American, I'm not prepared to talk about this right now.
And that happens to guys too. I mean, I think I was on like a third date with someone my first year here, and she just turned to me once and she said, I don't think I can see you anymore because I know you want to get married and I just don't want to get married right away. I want to marry in like 5 years. And I was just shocked because I had never even mentioned marriage, but she just assumed, given the fact that I was over 30, that I was, on the trail to marry,
Right.
But
this is kind of not from my dating my husband, but from a guy. I went on a first date with him, and we were. It was a Korean guy, and we went down to the river, and they had a riverboat that was doing marriages. And he asked me, like, have you ever, would you consider marrying a Korean guy? And I said, well, yeah, if I found a nice guy. And he said, I'm a nice guy. And I just jokingly said, well, then let's get married. And he was like, right now?
Oh my gosh. You walked into that one. Wow.
Yeah, and I just cracked up laughing, and I'm like, maybe not tonight.
Wow, interesting stuff. Interesting. Well, let's move on to the next question. Were there any family issues with your spouse marrying a foreigner, and how has this gone so far since the wedding? And I heard someone say that they did have some serious issues there. So
yeah, I think Summer has stories to tell.
Okay,
yeah.
Summer, go for it.
Okay. Actually, it wasn't the issue of me being a foreigner. They were really ticked off about him dating me, but it wasn't because I was a foreigner. Actually, his older sister is married to a Japanese guy.
Oh.
And so they're pretty kind of non-traditional that way, but the problem was that he was going through kind of a messy divorce. And they wanted him, even though he hated his wife and she totally hated him, both of the families were trying to pressure them to get back together and just endure for the sake of family honor and for his daughter. He has a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So they were really pressuring him that way, and they also had a lot of stereotypes of Americans being very flippant about divorce. And they were really scared that we were going to get married, and then after a year or a little while, I was going to get tired of the novelty of living in a foreign country and then kind of pull a midnight runner and just be gone. They also seemed to think I was after a Korean visa, which is pretty funny because my family thought the same thing. Yeah.
Oh my
Like, are you sure that he doesn't want to marry you for the visa? I'm like, I'm pretty sure.
Wow. That's quite the story there.
Yeah. So, after we got married, it took about 4 months before his mom wanted to see me. And about 9 months until his older sister wanted to see me, but I've never met the eldest sister.
Really? So
Yeah.
they weren't at the wedding or anything. They just wouldn't accept it. And
Well, actually, we didn't have a wedding, but I'll answer that later. You said you wanted to talk about weddings later.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Okay.
It's okay. But they seem to have warmed up a lot since they were really scared about what was going to happen with his daughter. Because typically in Korea, one or the other parent takes the child and never sees them again. Like, the other one never sees them.
Right.
Yeah.
But that was part of why it took so long to get a divorce, is he was pushing really hard not to lose his daughter.
Right.
So I think his family's warmed up a lot because his daughter comes over and sees us a couple times a month, and she loves it here. She totally loves being at our house.
Mm-hmm.
And a couple times they've called and she's here and she talks to him and she's very happy. And they've also really warmed up to me since I got pregnant.
Sure.
They've been really, really kind to me since I got pregnant.
Do you know if it's a boy or a girl, by the way?
It's a boy. And his mom was so happy when I told her.
Oh, my.
She was just crying and thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I worked hard on this. I know.
Yeah.
I did it for you.
Yeah, I'll see you.
Wow. Well, interesting stuff. Anyone else have any issues there with the family?
I was really lucky in that respect. We didn't have any complaints or problems from any of the relatives. My mother-in-law did confess years down the road that she had called some of her older brothers and sisters and said, well, what do you think about this Weikogin, Is she going to, up and run in the middle of the night? Because, they had the same idea that Summer mentioned, this flippant attitude towards divorce.
Uh-huh.
But the family said, no, if your son likes her, let him go.
Wow.
And that was the last.
You're lucky.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, my father-in-law was out of the picture. He passed away before I was ever around, and but I was told directly by my wife that if he had been around, there was no way that we would have ended up getting married, because he just wouldn't have allowed it. And I've found that to be a common theme with many guys in Korea who marry Korean females, many foreigners who marry Korean females. Not all, but that is somewhat of a common theme. Their wives are they're minus their father. Their father passed away, so that's an interesting.
And to be fair, my husband's father was also out of the picture, so who knows how that would have changed things.
Yeah, actually, so was mine. His mom was divorced, so he doesn't see his father anymore.
Ah, interesting. And it did help. My wife has some relatives that are in the United States, and I think one or two of them have married Americans. So that must have glossed things over a little bit, so to speak. Huh. Well, how about the wedding? Let's talk about the weddings here. This has got to be interesting. I did a semi-traditional wedding hall type of wedding. I guess as in traditional in the last, probably 30, 40 years in Korea. I don't know. But how about you guys? What did you do at the wedding? How was it handled? Did you get to plan it, or was it something that was planned for you?
Well, this is Karen. We also we did the wedding hall, and, wedding hall half Western, half Korean. And my mother-in-law and my sister-in-law planned everything. So I just kind of showed up there, put the dress on, got my hair done, and I was just led around, walked through the smoke fog machine, said yes. And then we had the Korean payback ceremony. And that was all. I didn't really choose anything. I didn't even choose my hairstyle or my makeup or anything. But
just kind of went along and went with the flow.
I just showed up and they took care of it all.
That was me too. I mean, we got married at the Nonhyun Wedding Hall, which is near the Kyobo Books building, and they were great. Although the only negative thing I would say is they really shuffle you in and out. It's like 30 minutes and get out of here.
Yeah, same as us. When I was going out of the room, the next bride was already coming in. Like it was really fast.
Yeah. Wow. Well, anybody else? That was Karen. Jill, Summer?
Yeah, we had two weddings. We had a Korean one for the Korean family and an American one in the U.S. for the American family. Mm-hmm. The Korean one was a traditional ceremony. It was outdoors. We had at a temple, and the hanbok and the soju and the dates and all that.
Mm-hmm.
That was very easy. My mother-in-law wasn't involved at all, but we just went to the office, what do you call it, the company that took care of organizing the weddings. We paid them some money, signed some papers, and showed up on the wedding day.
Mm-hmm. And did they have you pay some money at the end as well? Right away?
Did we? Did we pay up front, or did we just... I don't remember.
We had to pay up front a little bit, and then it was like... They were very stern. Now, before you leave on your flight, we were going to Hawaii, you will transfer us... Well, I don't know what it was. We had another 2 or 3 million won left to pay or something like that. So that was what we did. The first thing we did as a married couple was go to the ATM. Okay. How's that for romantic? Wow.
So sweet.
Yeah.
Well, for me, this is summer. We didn't actually have a wedding. My family is extremely religious, and they're Mormon, and they kind of treat any wedding that's not Mormon as kind of fake or less.
Really? Interesting.
Your Korean family or your American family?
My family, my family, and his family was really pissed off about us getting married. He didn't actually tell them until 2 days afterwards.
You just married because they were mad because you were a foreigner, or because of the Mormon religion, or both, or what?
Well, no, they were mad about it being his second marriage. And about me. They wanted him to marry a Korean girl the second time around. Just because they didn't want to deal with, they were afraid of him getting divorced again, and then being like 3 times divorced, or 2 times divorced, and then trying to get married again. So, and also just kind of family-wise, a lot of his family didn't know that he'd ever gotten divorced. And so it was kind of embarrassing for them to try to put on another wedding.
Oh. I wonder if they're still hiding it to any family members, or...
Aren't you a surprise at family gatherings?
We haven't had any of those yet, but actually we went to meet one of his friends, and I didn't realize he hadn't told his friend. So he asked me to go to the bathroom, and he went up to his friend and was like, "Hi, I got a divorce. I have a new wife, and she's here with me." And so that was kind of a shock for him. He thought he was joking.
Awkward moment.
Yeah. But I think the most important part was just that neither one of us likes kind of the pomp and ceremony of a wedding. So we decided to just skip it. So we signed the papers, and then like 6 of our closest friends, Western and Korean, got together that night, and we just had dinner and drinks in a nice restaurant, and very fun, simple, and everybody there was happy, which was our main goal.
Wow. So got it done, and now the family's slowly accepting it over time.
Yeah.
Sounds like, okay. Well, that's good. That's good. Okay, I think let's see, that's everyone, right? Everyone's gotten a plug in on the weddings. Okay.
Oh, wait, I just wanted to say, I hadn't said before that my Korean family is really fine, and they have no problem with having a foreign daughter-in-law.
Uh-huh. That's the same with mine. I mean, family members that are around now are great. My brother-in-law's fun, and what I've had some issues that I didn't understand with my wife, I sent him an email and asked him some questions, and he wrote back and gave me some great advice. And culturally, it's hard, isn't it? It's kind of hard to understand things, especially I think in the first few months.
Right.
I know with us, it's the little cultural things that end up rearing their ugly head and biting you. Just little tiny things that you never would guess, dealing with food, by the way. And that's our next question. Who does the cooking in the family, and what kind of food do you eat? And who does the preparation, I guess? Is it Korean, Western food? Karen, what do you do in your family?
Well, usually we eat rice and side dishes, but I don't cook them. My mother-in-law, she prepares everything for us. Then we pick it up, bring it home, and we eat it.
Uh-huh.
Convenient.
Yeah, really convenient. I don't know. She hasn't made me do it yet, so I'm just accepting it when she gives it to us. Not always. In the morning, it's kind of hard to eat Korean food sometimes. So usually we eat like Western food in the morning, and for lunch or dinner, we have Korean food.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Jill, how about you?
We share the cooking. It seems to be equal. I thought that he did most of it, and he insisted that I did most of it. So we decided it must be about 50-50.
That's a good plan. What kind of food gets cooked?
Mostly Korean, because that's what's easily available here.
Mm-hmm.
And it is easy to pull the side dishes out of the refrigerator and put the rice in the bowl and have your lunch there. It's very simple.
Yeah, that's what my wife does too. She kind of cooks me a separate little meal, actually, because I'll nibble on the side dishes once in a while, but that's about as far as it goes. I'm not a fish eater. That's what the difference is.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Yeah, and she loves fish, so yeah. Interesting. Summer, what do you do?
Usually I cook, but that's more because I'm picky and he's not. He'll eat anything. Usually in the morning I just make like a fruit smoothie and a bagel. He has lunch at his work, so it's Korean food. And then for dinner it's kind of 50-50. Like either we'll order something or like usually Korean food. But if I want something Western, I usually make it myself. Mm-hmm. But on the weekends, he's a really good cook. And so on the weekends when he has time, he makes Korean food for us.
Well, so these guys are really kind of breaking the traditional mold I would have expected, where the female cooks everything and the guy just sits down and eats it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Interesting to find that that's not the case. I mean, it sounds like these Korean guys are really getting into the kitchen here. Interesting.
Yeah.
Kind of showing me up a little bit.
How close do you guys live to your mother-in-law?
I live about 10 minutes away.
Oh, I'm about 2 hours.
Oh, wow.
What about you?
My mother-in-law's at the other end of the country in Busan, so...
Oh.
Me too. Me too. Although she's staying with us right now because my wife just had her baby this week. But
oh, congratulations!
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. First one, very, very interesting. That's a whole nother podcast coming up here in the future.
Right.
But the whole baby hospital ordeal.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Wow. Are you guys happy with the distance away from your mother-in-law? Would you rather you were closer? Maybe you don't want to get into that. That's probably a bad question to ask. But
well, I think it would be easier to be closer because then we would be able to see. When we visited, the visits would be less intense,
right,
and in exchange more frequent.
Yeah.
My mother-in-law lives in a very small house, and my husband comes from a rather large family, so visiting kind of drives me nuts just because it's so intense and there's so many people.
You mean you get in a small house and everybody's on the floor sleeping at night, or?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad we don't do that.
6 kids and whatnot.
Yeah, my wife and I have gotten into renting a hotel room when we go to Busan, which I thoroughly enjoy instead of, sleeping in the house with everyone else. But, interesting. Anyone else have something to add on that?
I would have liked to be maybe 45 minutes away from her, I think.
You're how far now?
2 hours. I would like to be in the situation where we could kind of easily visit her on the weekends, and then if we really need somebody after the baby's born, if we really needed somebody to look after the baby, or if she got sick or something.
Right.
But at the moment, even though we're 2 hours away, we really can't go see her at all because with my husband's job in the military, he's not allowed to leave this area. Mm-hmm. So,
oh wow,
we've only gone down there about 3 times.
Mm-hmm. So he can't even go out on vacation outside of Korea, or does he have a certain time of year that he can?
He can't go outside of Korea without very special permission, and he can't leave even the area without it being considered vacation.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they're really strict.
Interesting. So how does he get back to the USA, for example?
We've only gone once. He went once with me to visit my family. Mm-hmm. But that was actually during, he had to go there for studying. And so while he was there for about 4 months. And while he was there, we went, I went and met him there, and then we went and met my family. But since then, we haven't been back and probably aren't going to be going until after he quits the military.
Wow. Interesting. Huh. Well, I hear all these horror stories about Korean mother-in-laws. Okay. Yeah. And I hear that from Koreans talking about their Korean wives. Okay. Korean wives talking about their husband's mother-in-law, I should say.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a totally different animal when you're talking about a foreigner married to a Korean, because that really kind of changes the game a lot. And I don't think the mother-in-laws really know how to handle it.
Right.
So we're kind of lucky in a sense, I think, in that we don't have to deal with some of the more negative sides of the tradition, although there are some positive things we surely miss out on as well. But interesting. All right. Well, Well, we haven't really gotten into the childbearing yet because Summer's the only one right now who is pregnant. And well, let's talk about traditional events during holidays.
Yeah.
What happens there? Do you go to the traditional events? Do you enjoy the holidays with the family, or do you avoid them? What's it like for you guys? Let's start with Summer.
For me, it hasn't really been an issue yet because he's got to work every holiday, which really sucks. Mm-hmm. But and he's not allowed to leave the area, so we've never gone. I'm willing to go, and I'd be happy to go. I'd be happy to go, help cook and things like that, because that's always what we did in my family. Is everybody pitched in, but it just hasn't come up yet.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. How about Jill?
We always go. We go down to Busan, see my mother-in-law, and all the family comes in. The sisters-in-law all come in, and we cook. I try to help out, but they don't really trust that I'm capable. I don't, how the Korean women take a bit of pride in being able to chop quite quickly and with such finesse.
I didn't know that.
Neither did I.
They do, which I don't really worry about. No one in my family has ever cared how the food gets chopped, as long as it's edible when the final product is ready. That's all we really cared about. But the first time I picked up a knife and I started slicing something, and they gathered around me. They're going, "Oh, wow, you know how to use a knife."
It's like chopsticks. Hey, chopsticks.
Well, we have these in my country too.
So you chop fast?
No, I don't, which was kind of what was surprising. It wasn't, up to par with the Korean standard of what a woman should be able
sometimes
to do.
I think that stuff comes out because they just want something to talk about. It's so hard to know what to say. So they want to say something nice, but...
Oh, nice. So I'm not really trusted to help out in that way. I've tried to make washing the dishes afterwards my job,
mm-hmm.
but they don't really trust me there either. There's someone watching me, and they think I do it too slowly. I want to, carefully remove all of the grease from the dish or whatnot, and they just, hurry up, let's go sit down and have some fruit. So...
You're too thorough.
I'm trying to help. My heart is in the right place.
Interesting. Karen, how about you?
I do. We do go to all of the events. We have to go to the grandmother's house, though, still, because he has both grandmothers are living. So first we go to the dad's side grandmother's house, and that's really tiring. We have to cook a lot, and it's kind of fun to be able to do something together as a family, but the dad's side family isn't really very loving. They're nice and kind, but they're not very festive. So it's just long hours of cooking. And
yeah.
So it's a little bit uncomfortable. I don't really know what to say, and it's a little bit overwhelming of 2 full days of Korean, no English, Korean TV, Korean grandparents, Korean uncles, Korean aunts, Korean kids, Korean
really
food.
Hot floor.
Yeah. We're dying in the heat at nighttime, sleeping together all on the floor. But then we go to the mom's side grandmother's house, and it's really fun. I love going there. The relatives are really warm and kind, and it's always a big party there. So we don't have to work hard at the mom's side, but dad's side, I'm just the daughter-in-law now. So I have to do the daughter-in-law jobs and cook a lot. Yeah. But it's okay. It could be a lot worse, I think, if I was
sounds
cooking.
Like you're fitting in there then. That's good.
Yeah, finally.
Wow. Interesting stuff, guys. Interesting stuff. Well, I'm sitting here in a house now, and it's 20 degrees on the far side where I'm at, and the mother-in-law is sleeping in the other end of the house, and it's 25.
Right.
So we tend to run the temperature quite a bit differently.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm glad we can do that with zones and all. Otherwise, I'd be dead. I can't roast on the floor like that. No thanks. Jeez.
Right.
Wow. Well, let's move on. Have you had any communication or cultural obstacles in your marriage? Jill.
Oh, of course. Of course. I think one of the first things that struck me about my husband, it was these bouts of pouting. And I thought that maybe he was unique, but every woman I've talked to who has a Korean husband has identified with this.
How does this pouting go about? Because I can relate to that from the male side of things, being married to a Korean female. Go ahead and get into that.
It's quite puzzling. One moment everything is fine, and then you notice that the answers have become monosyllabic or they're non-existent. And you start reviewing the things that you've said or that have transpired, and you're going, well, what has caused this sudden bout of pouting? What have I done? What have I said?
Well, it's interesting to know that you go through that, because from a male perspective, I just assume that's kind of a male-female thing, because my wife has told me in the past, when I'm upset, you never know why. And I just assumed that was a male-female thing with a little cultural twist. But you're going through the same thing?
I am. It's much, much better. It's taken years, all 7 of them, as a matter of fact. I mean, it used to be able to go on for days.
Interesting.
And, 3 days later, I would finally find out that I had said this when I should have said that. And I just wanted to run my head through a wall going, if you just told me that 3 days ago.
Oh, my. But maybe he didn't feel like it was his place to tell you or something.
It's hard to say, but he is becoming a better communicator to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's becoming much better at saying, the pouting bits are fewer and farther between.
Wow, very interesting. Karen?
My husband pouts sometimes, but not too bad. Anyhow, the cultural problem, I think the most difficult thing was his job when we first got married. I really couldn't understand, the Korean company things. He would be at work, until 9 o'clock every night, and then sometimes on Saturdays without getting paid overtime. And he would say, well, that's just the Korean way. That's just how Koreans are and how Korean companies are, and I have to do it. So it drove me crazy. I couldn't get over that. I'd
have to say, I could totally understand you there. And I would sit there, and I guess if I was a woman, I would say, what is he doing in that time? Does that, I'm sure that's something you all have contemplated. That would drive me nuts.
Yeah, and I couldn't, if that was me and I was in Canada, I would be like, my husband was Canadian, I would say, you can't do that. It's not fair. You have to be being paid overtime, or you have to say something to your manager. And it would drive me crazy that he didn't stand up for himself or something, but he would just say oh, I can't, I really can't. This is the way it is. They're above me, so I have to do what they say. So that was the only bad thing, I think.
That would be hard on a newlywed.
Yeah, and I was kind of getting angry, why am I here? I'm alone every day, but it's good. I made him quit, so he doesn't work there anymore.
Well, I'm lucky that my wife is someone who really dislikes going out to late night work events, like going out drinking and whatnot. She doesn't like alcohol that much. And so she finds ways to avoid going and doing these things, usually through work. And she works for an international company, so that helps a little bit too. But yeah, I make it pretty clear that I don't like it when she's out past, say, 10 o'clock at night. Yeah. Even if it is for work, and she's pretty much stuck to that well. And on my end of things, I very much try to be home every night by 9 o'clock, but I don't have to worry about it so much because I'm a teacher,
Yeah, right.
Interesting. Summer, did you get in on this too?
I haven't yet, but actually I was cracking up over what Jill said. Because I had no idea that was a cultural thing. My husband pouts all the time. And I just totally thought it was his personality. But he has these pouting fits. And like she said, it can go on, I think the longest was over 2 weeks.
Wow.
Where he just was sulking and didn't want to talk to me.
My wife pouts too. But, I'm stubborn, and what I do is I just don't talk to her. And I don't like the pouting, so I just don't talk to her. And
I can't.
She will go to her room and sit there, and it depends on what it is. I will either break down and go to her and just say, I'm sorry, and try to talk to her, and even if she ignores me, I just let her ignore me, basically. And then I'll just, eventually, as I'm hanging around, she'll just get over it. But Otherwise, sometimes if I'm mad, we'll go a few days and not talk. But do they want you to admit that it's your fault when it's not your fault?
For me, usually it has nothing to do with me. It wasn't something that I did. He just gets stressed out about something and he starts sulking, like something at work, and he just doesn't want to tell me what it is.
Balls it up inside and doesn't want to talk about it.
Yeah, but then I can't tell. Sometimes it's me and sometimes it's not me, and it drives me crazy because I think it is me. And
right.
But for me, as far as cultural disagreements, except for that, most of the time we don't really. Most of the conflicts that we have nothing to do with culture. It's mostly kind of the same problems anybody has in a relationship. We're two different people, different personalities. He's a guy, I'm a girl.
Different ways of doing things.
Yeah, they could be personal, they could be cultural. For example, I like sleeping with my dogs, and it's really important to him that the dogs don't sleep on the bed. So, that could be seen as a culture issue or just a personal choice. So, but most of the time it's just kind of interpersonal. We don't have a lot of culture clashes that way. But some of the social obligations have been really hard for me to accept. A lot of them are very specific to military culture. That it just ticks me off still. For example, he left one time for 2 days because a coworker that he'd never really bonded with. It was just somebody who worked in the same field as he did, but he doesn't actually work together. It was just a coworker.
Mm-hmm.
Father died. And
he had to go, yeah.
And all of them had to go and be there for 2 days helping out with this coworker's father's funeral. And I just totally couldn't get that. And so stuff like that's difficult. But
Well, this is another question that I've just got to throw out there, and it's not on the list here, but who controls the money in your family? Because somewhat traditionally, the wives control the money in a Korean family, and I've been told it's about 60% these days. Do you ladies get to control the money, or does your husband do that?
We actually fought quite a bit about money back in the early days. My husband runs his own business, and so that money is all tied together. It's all related. And so when he needed to buy something for his business, maybe I would disagree with the need of that purchase. And I'd say, well, that we could buy that next year.
Mm-hmm.
And finally, it just got to the point where this is ridiculous. This is his business. I know nothing about it. He controls what he earns. I control what I earn. And that's just where we've left it.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a happy medium.
Huh. Anyone else?
For me, when it comes to bills and things like that, my husband does all of that because, it's harder for me to pay bills and things. But for purchasing things and buying things, I definitely have to approve before he buys something big or the price. It's kind of basically up to me, I guess, whether we spend our money or don't spend it. So, yeah, I think that. Well, also the other way, too, if I wanted to buy something, I wouldn't buy it without asking my husband. So I guess we do it together.
Mm-hmm. Kind of shared, okay.
Yeah.
Kind of the same with me. I just basically asked him if he's going to buy something big, let me know about it so we can talk about it. And the same thing, if I want to buy something that's going to be more than a couple $100s, I'll talk to him about it. But I work, and at the moment I've decided to get my paycheck from work put directly into his account just because of a loan he's got going, and it just makes things a lot simpler. But for my private lessons, I keep that money for just for
bad money.
No, more for groceries. I have some spending money so I can buy dinner and things like that. But it's not I can buy whatever I want. He can buy whatever he wants, but we just talk about it. So I don't think either one of us really controls what goes on with the money.
Did you all talk about it before the wedding? Did you plan this out at all?
I think so. I think actually it came up a couple of times, and he was really shocked that I was willing, that if he wanted to handle the money, and I said, yeah, if you want to be responsible for the money, I'll hand over the money. Sure, I don't care. And he was really shocked that I was willing to do that. So.
Well, I asked a Korean female friend, why is it that the women control the money? And she said, because would you trust your husband with the money? I said, well, what do you mean? What does that mean? Gambling or something? Oh, could be gambling. There are lots of late night bars open, that kind of thing. So, but with my wife and I, we didn't talk about it. And I just kind of assumed we'd each go our own way with money because she works and I work and she makes more than I do. And I know the tables would turn quite a bit differently if she didn't work. I mean, she would probably want to control the money. And honestly, I'd probably let her. But as we're both working now, I like to have some of my own money to do what I want to with. And we just kind of sit down together and we both went to the same bank and we have certain amounts taken out of our paycheck every month that goes into different savings accounts for different things like retirement or saving for a house or whatever. And then whatever's left over, we just kind of spend on our own and we don't really consult each other about it unless it's something really big like an air conditioner or something. But as we got into it about 5 months into the wedding, after the wedding, her coworkers asked her, so who controls the money in this foreign relationship you have? And she said, well, we really haven't talked about it. We both just kind of go our own way and blah, blah. And they didn't like that. Her coworkers said basically, well, this sounds more like a roommate than a husband. And that did not sit well with my wife. And then she kind of started pressing me a bit on the issue. But I made it pretty clear that I'd like to keep things separate as long as possible. But anyway. Well, let's move on. I don't think question 9 really pertains to us at all because it was about if you interact well with Korean mothers or Korean children in your area. Being that you don't have any children, we'll pass on that. Let's move on to the school system, though. What are your future plans for the education of children if you plan on having children? Stay here, move abroad, international school?
Well, we're not really sure. Probably, I mean, if we did stay in Korea, I definitely would not send them to a public school. I taught at a public school, and it was such a waste of time.
What age did you teach?
I taught middle school. And like the number one thing they learned there was how to waste time. The classes are so big, and the teachers took the job because it's government work and they can't be fired. Most of them hate their jobs. They hate kids.
Really?
And they just wanted the long vacations and the job security.
If I might ask, what area were you in exactly? Did you say because that can make a big difference.
Yeah.
True. The area is not that great. But I think if I stayed here, I probably want to go to a private school, but probably only if I work there. If not, then maybe just doing tutoring from home, like hiring tutors, doing it myself, stuff like that. So, but we've got about 6 more years to decide what we're going to do about it. So, I don't know.
Okay. Well, I see Karen's got to slip away, so we're going to let her go here. But thanks to Karen for joining us. And let's see, where were we talking about schooling and such? Any other input on that?
Wait, I'm not going, but...
Oh, sorry.
It was Jill that was going.
Oh, it was Jill. I'm sorry. Got several chat windows open. Okay, Jill's going, but all right. So, anything else to say about schooling?
I just want to say I was working at a public school too, but I was working at elementary school, and I think the teachers in the elementary school were really happy to be there and were really taking care of the kids pretty well. So I wouldn't have any problem sending my children to elementary school in this area anyway. Like, who knows about the area, but they seem to learn a lot about the behavior, their culture, and a little bit more than I think the students in Canada are. So they were kind of learning to be, listening better and just culture things, like about how to be polite, how to respect people. So I wouldn't have any problem sending my babies to public school as far as elementary school goes, but
It's interesting you'd say that, because I felt the same way. I've worked in an elementary school situation in a camp, and that was at a school near Sumyong Women's University about 4 years ago, and I was very impressed with the Korean teacher there. I thought she did a great job. I learned a few things from her, to be honest, and I thought, I would love my kids to go to school here.
right.
But I've never taught at a middle school. I try to avoid middle schools like the plague. They scare the heck out of me. The kids are just terrible. I mean, I had
How big were
experiences.
I'm sorry. How big were the class sizes there?
For my school or camp,
Go ahead.
my classes were about 40 students per class.
40?
35 to 40? Yeah, 35 to 40. But they were really great. I loved them, but they're not really in the city, so kind of countryside kids might be different than city.
Jeez, 40 elementary school kids?
Yeah.
And they kept control of them?
Yeah, they were really good, Like, I think it's possible.
My camp situation was like 15 kids, so I guess that's quite a bit different.
Camp kids are crazy, though. They're off their normal schedule, so it's hard to control them.
I see.
At the middle school, they had about 40 students per class. But I mean, I guess a lot of it was just the fact that most of the teachers we're like way out in the countryside, and most of the teachers were pretty pissed off about being there. And
Because they don't get to choose, do they? They're just
no, they don't, and they were pretty ticked off. So, but they pretty much told me that they didn't they didn't want to teach. They didn't like kids, but that they needed it for the benefits or whatever.
ouch.
So.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I taught at a girls' high school, and I was actually, fairly impressed. And I sat and I thought about this. What is it that people dislike about the Korean public school system? And I wondered, I think a lot of the dislike has to do with the English education system and how people just want it to happen a lot quicker. And my child isn't going to have to worry about that, because I'll be teaching my child English, and I am very impressed with the math ability that Korean students have. So I think in a Korean public school, they're going to learn math well, and probably at a Hagwon too.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, history, but the things that are more important, I guess, to me are going to be math and the foreign language component. And I don't know. I honestly, I'm sitting here thinking I wouldn't mind it if my kids went to a Korean public school so much. The international schools, the prices are just insane.
Right.
And I sit and I think, I know there are great dedicated teachers out there, but I keep reading these articles about how, and I know some foreigners I know work at the international schools, and they don't have any specialized degrees. So I wonder, how much better are they?
Exactly.
For the money?
Except that it's in English, I suppose.
Exactly. Yeah.
But our kids will learn English at home, and it's good for them, I think, to be if they're going to live in Korea, to be able to socialize with the Korean people, just so they don't, not always, but so they don't outcast themselves, kind of.
Oh, totally. I'm going to try that with our daughter. I mean,
right. You don't have to keep doing it. If you try, I mean, there's always other options.
Sure. I mean, when the kid gets old enough, you can put him in a nolibong, which is like a playroom.
Right.
Once you get to be a few years old, and I want our daughter to have friends in the area and play and make close friends, and I hope that works out well. I hope she's not teased or whatever. Yeah, right. But I think times are changing, and hopefully kids are more accepted if they're foreign or half foreign.
Yeah.
That was also a real big reason why I didn't want to send our kids to public schools, is because either they would be, I was worried about them either being shunned or being incredibly popular, and I think both are really bad for kids.
Who knows which way it's going to go to.
Yeah, my sister-in-law that has she has two boys that are half Japanese, and she had to take one of them out of school for being beaten by his classmates.
Ooh. That would be tougher, I think, than being half Canadian or half American.
Yeah. It's definitely, they're them talking about him being the enemy and his parents his dad being the enemy and stuff like that. So, I'm definitely going to do kindergarten here would be okay. Like, the preschool and kindergarten, but I don't know about elementary school yet.
Yeah, right. There's lots of time to decide too.
Yeah. Any plans to move overseas?
I would want to go to Thailand and China and stuff like that just for more teaching, but we'd always be coming back to Korea just because he's got a daughter here and family here. So
Interesting.
We're not really planning to go back. Well, maybe in the future. Nobody knows what the situation will be later, right? But for now, it's good living here. Like, we have skills. We can speak English. So there's lots of jobs for us here, and we're close to his family. So there's no plans yet for us to go back.
I think his family would be extremely upset if we left and we took the boy.
Right.
Whereas my family, I mean, they miss me, but like I'm one of 7 kids, and this is going to be the 27th grandbaby, so it's not like a huge deal to have me gone. But him being the only boy, and this is going to be the only male in his family line. I mean, his sister's got 2 boys, but the only
one who has the mother-in-law with the small house.
No, that was Jill.
Goodness,
That was Jill.
27 in a small house. That sounded like hell.
No. In my family, my family's got 27 kids.
27. Oh, okay.
27. But his family's very small. And it'll be a total of 4 grandkids. So I think his mom would be really devastated if we took one of them and left.
Right.
Wow.
Not to mention the fact that his daughter would be totally devastated with her dad leaving. So.
Wow. Well, this has been great tonight. And is there anything else anyone would like to mention or add here before we hang up for the night?
Don't be scared to marry a Korean. I think they're really sweet and kind, and it's not what you think it would be. Like, when you see a Korean girl with a Korean husband, sometimes their life is really tired. But if you're a foreigner, you don't have to be scared.
Interesting.
I would tend to say to make sure that, like, not as like a blanket, don't be scared, but I think a lot of the guys who are more interested in marrying foreigners, like, tend to have more open, like, kind of more
right.
open-minded, and I wouldn't necessarily totally say that it's not something to be scared of, but like if you know him, I mean, it's the same as marrying anybody. If
right,
you know him and you know his family and you've talked about things, then yeah, it probably, like, for me anyways, it didn't really change that much after we got married, except that there was a lot less family stress.
Mm-hmm.
Now they figure they're stuck with me, so.
Also, yeah, I think, like, get to know their family too, because the family will be an important part. Like I said, don't be scared, but yeah, the family, just make sure you can deal with the family first.
Mm-hmm. I see. Okay, well, that's some great stuff. Thank you very much for adding your wonderful answers tonight. And we're going to wrap this up. This has been another episode of the Midnight Runner podcast. Tune in again in the future. We're going to have a story about having babies in Korea. And I'm sorry, these ladies aren't going to be in on that just yet. But we have some more people coming up that will have some excellent input on that, as will I, since we just had a child this week. So thank you very much for listening again. You've been listening to the Midnight Runner podcast.
Serving English teachers in South Korea and beyond. You've reached the Midnight Runner podcast.